Hey folks, in this video we're going to talk about open circuit potential, or OCP, also referred to as open circuit voltage, or OCV, in the context of a 2-electrode configuration. However, in this video we're going to focus on the 3-electrode configuration, which uses the open circuit potential. So I hope you're down with OCP. Before we begin, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, consider joining us as a Tier 2 YouTube member and gain access to our archive of webinars. Webinars range in a wide variety of topics, including electrochemical impedance spectroscopy, cyclic voltammetry, Schottky, and much, much more. Membership also supports the continued educational content provided by Pine Research Instrumentation. Lastly, if you have any questions about this video, please write them in the comments section below. And if you want to skip ahead, there are timestamps in the description below. In electronics, the open circuit refers to a break in the electrical path such that no current flows. There's an opening in the circuit. In electrochemistry, the open circuit potential is the potential difference between the working and reference electrode at open circuit, which is to say when no current flows through your electrochemical cell. Now, in electrochemistry, to make a measurement, it is necessary that a little bit of current flows. So practically speaking, when we measure the open circuit potential, we don't measure it at open circuit. Instead, we use a very large resistor, such that only a tiny amount of current passes between the working and reference electrodes, just enough to make a measurement. This current is so small that it has a negligible impact in the actual working electrode potential and reference electrode potential. If you watched my video on how a potentiostat works, the open circuit potential is measured at the electrometer when no other amplifiers in the circuit are active. This is to say that the open circuit potential is a passive technique, meaning that there is no active control of the working electrode potential, as you might see in techniques like cyclic voltammetry or chronoamperometry. One thing that's important to note is that even though the open circuit potential means no current is flowing in your electrochemical cell, it doesn't mean that the system is at equilibrium. Chemical reactions inside your electrochemical cell could still be occurring, which could change the open circuit potential. People often use the open circuit potential as a way to determine whether or not their electrochemical system is stable. Oftentimes, depending on the technique, you may decide that you want the open circuit potential to be within a few millivolts over the course of several minutes. This, of course, depends on your electrochemical system. For techniques like electrochemical impedance spectroscopy, this can be very important, as one probable cause of low-frequency drift is an unstable open circuit potential. Let's take a deeper look at what the open circuit potential is and what we mean when we say the difference between the working and reference electrode potential. First, let's describe the electrochemical system. I have a 3-electrode system, so I have a Glassy carbon working electrode, a platinum wire counter electrode, and a silver-silver chloride reference electrode. All 3 electrodes are immersed in a 0.1 molar potassium chloride electrolyte solution that contains a millimolar mixture of ferri and ferrocyanide. Everything is at equilibrium. The working electrode potential is defined as the difference between the inner potential of the electrode minus the solution potential. This potential difference is also equal to the working electrode potential defined by the Nernst equation. This working electrode potential is equal to the standard redox potential of the ferri-ferrocyanide redox couple minus RT over NF times the natural log of the activities, the ratio of the activities of the products divided by the reactants, in this case the ferri-ferrocyanide redox couple. In this equation, according to this, the potential of the working electrode is primarily governed by the ferri-ferrocyanide redox couple and the ratio of the activities of ferri and ferrocyanide. This same approach can be applied to our silver-silver chloride reference electrode. Our silver-silver chloride reference electrode consists of a silver wire encased in a silver chloride salt, all of which is in a 4 molar potassium chloride solution. Just like with our working electrode, the reference electrode potential is equal to the inner potential of the silver-silver chloride wire minus the 4 molar potassium chloride solution potential. This potential difference is also equal to the same potential governed by the Nernst equation, except instead of using the ferri-ferrocyanide redox couple, we'll be using the silver-silver chloride redox reaction. In this case, the potential of the reference electrode will change as a function of the chloride ion concentration or activity. Now, the open circuit potential is the difference between the working and the reference electrode, and as you just saw, there are many ways to mathematically represent this. One thing that we cannot ignore is also the contribution from the IR drop whenever it comes to measuring a potential. So mathematically, when we put everything together, we get the open circuit potential is equal to the contribution from the working electrode minus the IR drop minus the contribution from the reference electrode. Now, it's important to note that there is an IR drop. However, because the current is so small, it's such a tiny amount of current, it is effectively negligible and we can remove it from our equation. As such, the equation for the open circuit potential looks something like this, where we have the contribution associated from the working electrode minus the contribution from the reference electrode. If we look at the definition of the reference electrode based on the Nernst equation, we can use the open circuit potential as a way of testing our reference electrodes. If we're worried that a reference electrode has become contaminated or that the inner fill solution has changed, we can measure the open circuit potential between two of the same reference electrode to compare the results. For example, if I have two silver-silver chloride reference electrodes, I can connect one to my working electrode lead and the other to my reference electrode lead, submerge them into a 0.1 molar potassium chloride solution, and then measure the open circuit potential. Ideally, I should get a value of 0 or a value close to 0. The potential difference between two things that are the same should be 0. If you plug in different numbers for the chloride ion concentration into the Nernst equation, you'll observe that you should get a 59 millivolt difference in the potential from a 10 times difference in the chloride ion concentration. So if you observe an open circuit potential of, say, 20 millivolts, that could mean that the chloride ion concentration between your two reference electrodes is off by a factor of 2x. That's pretty big. Also, it means that there's a 20 millivolt difference in the reported potential just based on which reference electrode you used. If you observe this, it's usually a good indication that you should change the inner fill solution of your reference electrodes and ideally do the open circuit potential experiment again, trying to get a value of 0 for the open circuit potential over the course of your experiment. Now, you might have been recommended to take the open circuit potential prior to doing a cyclic voltammetry experiment, but you had no idea why you should do that or how it even works. Well, when I was a graduate student, I used to take the open circuit potential prior to doing a cyclic voltammetry experiment for one simple reason. It was an easy, non-destructive technique that allowed me to quickly determine whether I had set up my electrochemical experiment properly. For example, if I accidentally forgot to connect my reference electrode to my electrochemical cell, the open circuit potential will be something crazy like plus 10 volts. Similarly, if I connected my electrode leads and they were touching each other, I might measure an open circuit potential of, say, 0 volts. There's no way that could be the case. So measuring the open circuit potential was a very quick and easy way for me to tell whether or not any of my electrodes were connected or disconnected. Now, it's not a completely foolproof thing. I could still make errors. For example, I could still have forgotten to connect the counter electrode, and the open circuit potential wouldn't save me from making that mistake. However, in this case, I wouldn't run the risk of damaging any of my electrodes. If I forgot to connect the reference electrode, or some of my electrode leads were touching, there's a good chance that I could damage some of my electrodes. If the counter electrode lead was disconnected and I tried to run a cyclic voltammetry experiment, I wouldn't run the risk of necessarily damaging any of my electrodes. So that was one practical reason to perform a open circuit potential experiment prior to doing something like a cyclic voltammetry experiment. The other useful bit of information for taking the open circuit potential is to determine the starting potential of your cyclic voltammetry experiment. Let's say I was doing a reduction reaction and I didn't know what the reduction potential was supposed to be. Well, should I start at 0 volts and then sweep negatively? Well, I don't know. There's a chance that if I start my potential at 0, I would already start doing the reduction reaction. Let's say I measure a open circuit potential of positive 200 millivolts. Well, at positive 200 millivolts, I know that the current is equal to 0. If I were to start at 0 volts, I might already be doing the reduction reaction. So, what this tells me is that I should start my CV experiment at least 200 millivolts, maybe even a little bit more positive, and then sweep the potential negatively so that I can capture that cathodic wave of my reduction reaction. All right, folks, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you soon.